The latest update to the Magewell Director Mini adds a ton of new features, way too many to go into in this video. Like really just scroll through the list of the release notes and you'll see exactly what I mean. But I do want to talk about a couple of really important ones I think are going to make a huge difference to your workflows using the Director Mini. So let's take a closer look. Hi, I'm Aaron Parecki. So I've got the Magewell Director Mini rigged up here and running onto that TV in the back, but I also have it set up so I can actually show you the screen in this recording. So I'm going to show you what this looks like while I'm interacting with it here on the screen. A couple of the features we're going to go into in this update are the ones that I think I'm most excited about, and hopefully they are the most useful to you. The Director Mini has for a while had the ability to bring in an SRT source, but previously it worked only as an SRT caller, and now it works as an SRT listener. What does that actually mean? So the way SRT works is there's a caller and a listener, and that describes who is establishing the connection between the two devices. So caller and listener describes who starts the connection between the two devices. It, however, does not describe which way the video is flowing. That means you could, for example, have a camera that is a caller and the Director Mini that's a listener, and that could also be the direction the video flows, from the caller to the listener. But it also works in reverse. You could have a camera that is a listener and the Director Mini is a caller, and while the Director Mini starts the connection to the camera, the video flows the opposite direction. Previously, the Director Mini could only be set up as an SRT caller, which means it was really limited in what it could actually connect to. And now we actually have the ability to set an SRT source up as a listener. So for example, I can go in here, tap SRT listener, and now you see it does not ask me to type in an IP address because it is going to be the thing that it gets connected to from something else. So one thing I could do with this, for example, is I could actually stream to this from an ATEM Mini. So I can go and make a new source and call it ATEM Mini here. We can just give it a random port, 9999, go ahead and create that, and I'll save that source. So now over here, this is an SRT listener ready to receive data from an ATEM. So now I can go into the ATEM Mini software, for example, and go into the live stream section, and I'm going to choose custom URL H264 from this list. Here, I'll actually now enter the SRT address of the Director Mini. One quick way to find this is actually you can go to the Director Mini and pull down from the top, and it'll show you the IP address of your Director Mini either on Wi-Fi or Ethernet, depending on how you have it connected. So here I'm going to go type in SRT 10.11.70.2 and the port number that I entered for that source. I did not enter a stream key or passphrase, so I should be able to just hit on air, and we are live. We're not getting the blinking red, which means this is sending it to the Director Mini. And if we take a look at the Director Mini, now we see that the source is actually lit up and I am seeing the video from my ATEM. And now I can cut to this just like any other angle. And the ATEM is now an SRT caller into the Director Mini. Another really nice update they did is they actually added presets for a bunch of different layouts that makes it a lot easier to create custom layouts. So if I go over and add a new source here, then I can actually go and see this multi-view. This will now actually give me a bunch of presets of these different layouts. You can see I've got options with anywhere from 2 to 4 different sources. So let's go here and tap this one, for example, 1, 2, and 3. I can first quickly drag this to change the sizes of them, and then I can choose which sources to show in there. So I could, for example, put my face over there in the side. I can put the top-down camera or the side camera here, and maybe 3 would be a graphic, or I could make it this video. Go ahead and click continue, and now that's here, and I can actually go split lines if I want to, or change the sources. Click save, and now it's saved as another scene that I can cut to. So this just makes it a lot faster to build these scenes. Previously, you could do this all from scratch, and you still can if you go and click custom. You can go in here and actually just add sources one by one and choose the sizes. So I can, for example, add my camera, go ahead and crop it, save that one, drag it over there, go add a second source. Maybe that will be the other HDMI, put it up there. You get the idea. This is definitely, it's possible to create any layout you want this way, but it's much faster to use the new presets. There's a couple different options. You have these side-by-side, picture-in-picture, side-by-side scale down a little bit. You've also got these 3-ups or even a 4-up layout here. So really that's just going to make it a lot faster to create your really custom fancy layouts on the Director Mini, which is one of the unique features of the Director Mini as well, because not a lot of switchers this size can actually create these kinds of layouts. There's now also even more options for using web pages as graphics sources. So previously we've been able to create a graphics overlay source of a web page by going into the graphics tab and adding a web page as an overlay. And that's great for doing things like adding custom graphics that aren't just limited to these built-in graphics. For example, I use it all the time to show the chat messages on the stream. But this previously was limited to just overlays. But now you can actually go into the main video tab and add web pages as a source. So here now we have the option of actually adding a web page as a video source. So I've gone in here and actually just added my home page for my website. And this is now going to be able to be switched to like any other video source. I can even scale this down. Maybe I will put my camera over on the side here. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and crop this in a little bit. Scale that down, put me over there. And now I've got myself next to my web page. We'll save that. And now over here, this is cutting to a video source that's also a web page. If there were animations or sound, it would also work as well. But this is, of course, not actually very useful unless you can actually interact with the website. So if you long press on the graphic, you'll see this new pop-up here, and there's a button here called Web Page. If I click that, now I can actually interact with the web page, including things like scrolling. So I can scroll down, I can show you what's there, I can actually click on links, and it'll actually follow the links as well. This was to a YouTube page, which it's even playing a YouTube video inside the web page. So you may have noticed that the web page went full screen when I clicked to interact with it. So let's actually double check that it's actually streaming this layout when we're interacting with it as well. So what I'll do is I'll actually go and show you the overhead camera, but I'm going to bring in a little box in the corner here, which is the NDI output of the Director Mini. So when I go here and actually start streaming over NDI, that's going to pop up in the corner here. So now we can actually see what the Director Mini is outputting while I'm doing things on the device itself. So I'm going to go here again, long press, tap web page, and this goes into full screen mode. And you see I can actually now interact with the web page full screen on the Director Mini, but it's still streaming the custom layout. A couple other things I want to touch on, but I'm not going to go into full details of these, but these are some pretty important features still. While we're talking about NDI, one of the other updates is that you can now add NDI sources that include an alpha channel. So if you are using a graphics program that can output an NDI feed with an alpha channel, you can now actually bring that into the Director Mini, including that alpha channel. There's some other really important new settings in the encode section. So if I go over here and go to the settings, this is where in the encoder section, this is where I would set up which things I want to encode, which can be either streaming or recording. There are two encoders in the Director Mini, so you can actually encode two different things at different bit rates or record a high bit rate and stream a low bit rate. But you can also change which video sources you're recording. So you could, for example, use it as an ISO recorder to record two HDMI feeds and stream the custom layout. But the new thing they added is the ability to change which audio gets recorded with the encoders as well. So if I go in here into encoder 2, I'll click add a new configuration. I can choose the video source, whether I want that to be program, HDMI, or whatever. I can now also choose the audio source. So if I wanted to use this as an actual ISO recorder to record the two HDMI sources with their own audio separately, I can now actually do that. Or I could use it to record the same program audio on both, just at different bit rates. The other new feature in the encoder is that you can actually encode the multi-view option, which is where it actually shows you all the different inputs in one screen on the Director Mini. So that could be useful if you are wanting to send that over NDI, for example. You could send that to another monitor or somewhere else in the studio, or you could even stream it remotely. So if I go ahead and choose multi-view as the encoder 2, I'll go ahead and select that. I have to go back out and stop streaming first. So we'll go into the settings here, go back into encode, change encoder 2 to show the multi-view. Now encoder 1 is going to be streaming the program and encoder 2 is the multi-view. So I could go into the encoder section here, go to SRT Caller, and actually now make the SRT stream that it's going to push out be the multi-view. They also added the multi-view option to the NDI, so you can actually now go and choose the video source is multi-view. And if I go ahead and turn on the NDI stream now, we will go ahead and turn on the little box in the corner, and we should see the multi-view from the Director Mini. And that's coming over NDI. So now as I'm using the Director Mini, you can see that the same thing that I see on the screen is also what's being sent over NDI. A couple other important changes they did. Now you can actually, when you connect this to Wi-Fi, you can actually have it join a captive portal, and you can make sure to be able to type in a password or just click the agree to terms of service if you're joining a captive portal. You can also now plug in your phone over USB to the USB port and use your phone's network connection hardwired in instead of just as a Wi-Fi hotspot. So it'll give you more options for getting mobile internet connections into the Director Mini as well. There's a whole bunch more features listed in the release notes, so do take a look and play around with yours if you have one. There's a lot more features in the graphics section and the replay section. So this is a great update, and it's great to see so much improvement that continues to happen with the Director Mini. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.